And we are live. We are live, guys. Thank you for joining. We have quite the cast of characters today. I think we're getting a little bit of backfeed. I'm not sure who that might be. I don't know. Somebody while we do the share out segment. If maybe earbuds or mute, we can try that too. I can mute you guys. But let's. I'm going to play some share around music here, and we will. We'll roll intro in just a minute. All right. Feel free to accommodate platforms too. Don't feel like you have to, but you're certainly welcome. All right. Good evening, Ashley. Good evening, Rich. Thanks for following. Thanks for watching. Kenny, you got it shared?
Yes.
Roll intro. Here we go. Hello, friends, fans, and followers. Thanks for tuning in. We're back with another Tuesday Night Live event edition. Joined today by Brittany and Adam and Ted and Michael Beck and Kenny K-Dog Mullins and yours truly. Guys, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Today
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on.
Of course.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, we appreciate it. Today is like I say, the event show. We're going to walk through kind of the recap the PA event with Brittany, Adam, and Ted, who are participants, and Michael Beck, who was the state liaison and the brains of the operation and the glue that pulled it all together. And then Kenny,
be careful, his head's getting big, won't fit.
Yeah, be careful.
I know it.
Don't do that.
I know it. And then, of course, Kenny was there providing all of the intellectual content along with a few other usual suspects. So, yeah, and then we'll do that. Then I want to just do a promo about the Michigan event, as that is anxiously close for me, and I'm starting to have a mild panic attack. So, Michael, I get it.
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah, that's all
He
right.
loved it.
Let the weather turn south. It really gets worse.
Yeah,
Oh, that was fine. Just a little wind and rain.
little breezy. I saw somebody out there started to build an ark though. That had me nervous.
That's coming. This rain just won't shut off here right now.
It's the same way here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're actually looking pretty good. I haven't looked right now here in southern Michigan. I haven't looked what the end of the month forecast looks like, but it's pointless to do that. It's this far out anyway. So,
Correct.
well, guys, let's first of all let me just I want to again thank the folks who chose to partner with us on that intro banner are the organizations who chose to partner with us. And it's bearing fruit. So if you are a member, if you are an ABTA member, those organizations there are offering discount codes for exclusive to ABTA members, and there's some good ones in there. And they work. Megan just got her Alpha 300 from Conkeys using their discount code, and somebody else plugged it. And Dan's Gear, they're all there and they're all effective. So, and I plan to utilize the discount codes myself here shortly, and still working on other stuff. So hopefully we can get some other organizations to join the party here. There's some good stuff. We're working on one based off from last week's stream. If you guys remember the GPS, the alternate GPS attractive. We're going to see if they'd be willing to do something with us. So stay tuned for that one. No promises, but so let's talk about the. Well, hey, hold on, Kenny. Before I kick it to Michael to kind of just do a quick, overview of attendance and number of tests and things like that. Anything you want to kick on the intro segment here?
No, go ahead. I'll chime in when needed. I'll just stand here and be the pretty face.
No. That's my job. That's my role. Oh, hey, Mullins, do you notice anything different about my background?
Yes, much better.
Okay, not done yet, but I gotta get the other stuff up there. But
yeah, you got two more from Michigan.
Oh yeah. Tom signed up and somebody else did, huh? I plugged it.
No, I meant you have two more ribbons to get.
Two? One, maybe. One. I mean, I'll test for one, but I don't know about two. So we'll see. But so Michael, so PA, man, why don't you? I don't know if you have some of the stats available. I
have no stats.
Okay.
So,
Do we have?
What I can pull up.
I'm just curious. How many attended? Do we know how many tests were administered?
I knew you were going to ask all that, and I was not prepared.
Yeah,
I want to say it was somewhere around 20 tests, wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, and there was well over 30 at the seminar.
Yeah,
There was definitely 30 because I got a head count at one point. There was 30 in the room, but people were in and out the whole time.
Oh, good. Nice.
Yeah, no, it was neat on my end watching it all come together. Last year, whenever the event was up in Clearfield County, I got this thought in my brain. It's wow, that'd be really neat to have down in southwestern PA. And the wheels started turning, and that's when it went into motion. And then watching it, excuse me, I got to tend to my little one and get him a juice box.
Oh, of course.
But watching it all come together and the process of working with everybody to make it a successful event, it was great to be part of that.
Yeah, and I got to give Mike credit. He went above and beyond. I'll say that. He had a lot of people involved. A lot of people donated stuff. Ted was one of them. it was pretty good.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And now let me manage the expectations for the Michigan event on that front, Kenny.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, I know I'm feeling a little bit of the pressure when I hear about the great work that Michael did and all of that. Michigan's going to be good. It's just going to be different. I'll just leave it at that. We'll talk more about it.
It's just a lot of legwork, a lot of. I mean, it's something I've never done anything like this before. I've never coordinated an event. There was a lot of behind the scenes things that had to go on, including the back and forth with the Department of Forestry, the back and forth with the hotels, making sure everybody had a place to stay.
Yeah.
The food was my biggest stressor, I think, through all of this. And we ended up having a lot. And it was good. I think it was good. I didn't hear anybody calling and complaining. I'm not facing any charges of food poisoning. Anything like that. Kenny got to try a gob and some pumpkin roll that he's never had.
Okay.
I think it went well.
Nice.
Ted definitely come through for us. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him and the support that I've gotten off of him. The stuff that he donated from his store was ridiculous. I mean, I've seen Ralph walk in and he's seen everything laying there and just, oh my God. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that many giveaways. Have you?
No.
Yeah, it was
It was
something
a good
special.
turnout.
It was a really, what's that?
Yeah.
It was a good turnout.
Yeah, it was. And the setting of that, being at the Windber Sportsmen's Association building, it was good. It was a comfortable setting, I think, for everybody. Lots of woods. You could hike for days out there and not cross your path.
Yeah, it was a good venue for sure. I'll kind of speak on my part and some of the other stuff. We had plans of doing a lot more hands-on stuff in the field, and like I said, we weren't prepared for the high wind, rain that was there, and so we kind of had to improvise. We didn't have our projector to be able to do the stuff indoors properly. We tried to improvise using a monitor, and then I didn't have some of the stuff downloaded like I should have. So we had some hiccups. It wasn't perfect, but we got by.
Cool. Yeah. Well, the weather is certainly something you can't control, and all of the events I've been to, and it's not a ton, there's always been something that you have to overcome, and that's just part of it, man.
It is part of it. It's part of tracking.
Oh yeah.
True.
We don't know what we're running into.
It was definitely cold and windy. I wasn't even expecting that. Yeah, it was cold.
Welcome to Pennsylvania.
Welcome. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
It was seasonable.
It's seasonable in Pennsylvania. So, well, guys, I kind of goofed up my mojo here because I forgot to do the intros and let Ted and Brittany and Adam do their bio. So, Brittany and Adam, why don't you give us a little tracking bio as participants at the PA event? Let's just hear a little bit about you and your tracking bio, guys.
We kind of just got started in it last year, so we're not like professionals by all means. We're very new to it, learning a lot. I'm having fun with it. It's so much fun to go out there and see what the dogs can do. Thankfully, we have a bloodhound that is doing it. Love him. I think that his love for it is helping me love it.
Oh, yeah.
I think that if I had to work a lot harder getting him to want to do that, it would probably decrease me a little bit. But him loving doing it is helping me love doing it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly agree with that. And I'm glad you said that you're having fun with it because that's truly what it's about. Having fun and translating that into fun, using your powers for good, so to speak, and helping hunters. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty wild, I guess. I always had coonhounds, and I ran those for coyotes and tracked deer with them some. But to actually have a dog that's a little bit more capable and trying to just train it the proper way, like to learn, I guess there is I mean, you could ask 100 people and get 100 different answers on how to train your dog. But with the hooves and the gland and everything, I learned quite a bit at that seminar.
Yeah, and I want to get into that in more depth with you guys, some of the specifics, but that's good, and that's exactly why Michael recommended that you guys come on. Thought you might have some good feedback for us, and good testimonial from a new tracker perspective. So we appreciate that,
I'm
guys.
probably driving Michael crazy.
Well, that's
No,
okay.
not at all. Believe me, not at all.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
enjoyable. I actually tagged along on their introductory evaluation, just to watch, tag along with Darren and stuff like that. And you could see Duke and how much he enjoyed that, and you could see it flowing through the leash into Brittany. I mean, I stood back with Adam and was just talking about it and stuff like that, but you could see it, and that's a good part. Being involved with the organization, being a judge, you can sit back and watch the things transpire, and to me, I get a lot of value out of that. Just to sit back and be able to watch and not have to dodge everything like Brittany was.
Yeah, of course.
It's definitely a work in progress, but I mean, I asked Mike a lot of questions, so he's been super helpful, thankfully.
Well, and questions are good, and not being bashful and asking them is better. So good for you. And like I say, we'll dive into that a little bit more. But Ted, let's hear your bio, buddy.
So me and my tracking partner Bonnie, were novices. We did put her out a little bit to the public last year. She's a year and a half at this point. Me and Mike started training her. He helped me with her through the whole process. I just wanted to do it right with her. So we started, I believe, right around 16 weeks. And it was slow going at first. Bonnie would take about 20 minutes to go about 100 yards at the very beginning, and had to be talked off the ledge a whole lot. But every week she would get faster and more confident, and she just was a low confident dog at the very beginning. Now she has a little bit too much confidence around the house, but we're working on that too.
And she's a Hanoverian, right?
Yeah, she's a Hanoverian.
How old is Duke, your bloodhound? Did you say that and I missed it?
I didn't. He's a year and a half too. So pretty much the same age.
Nice. And Ted, you were in Lancaster last year, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah,
I met
you out there. We didn't talk a lot, but I met you out there in Lancaster. So.
Yeah, we talked briefly, but
yeah, yep.
Don't downplay yourself there, Ted. A few tracks last year. You guys were out there a bunch.
Yeah, still beat up from it.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to add, Matt, going there this year, and obviously went there twice last year to PA, is seeing a lot of new faces, new people getting into tracking. It's good to see that. The tracking community has grown a ton in PA in the last year. Yeah,
well, that's cool. I know when it was out there, it was when I was there in August. It was clear that it was there was a thirst for knowledge and growth, and that's cool.
And I'm still getting phone calls, and it's kind of a shame that the people that I'm talking to now didn't have any idea about the seminar and stuff like that. I was like, wow, I really wish you would have contacted me 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. But it's okay. I'm starting a couple new ones for training here real soon. One's a 10-month-old Belgian Malinois, so that will be interesting.
Good luck with
Oh.
that.
Have
That
fun.
would be oh yeah. I'm sure he'll give me many love bites.
Yeah, just focusing that unbridled energy to tracking would be
But
fun.
once you get it, it's there. You got it. I mean, that's what that
Wow.
dog's meant to do, is to work.
To work, you bet. Yep. Cool. Well, good deal, man. So, Brittany, let's talk about it. So you did the introductory evaluation, right?
Yeah.
So walk us through that. I'd be curious as to what I know. Darren was the judge that did it with you, Darren Meyer. So I'm curious. What were your expectations going into the event in general, and then that introductory evaluation, and then how did we meet them, exceed them? And I'm just curious on the
Yeah.
intro from your perspective.
I was really hoping to do a certification too, but we didn't have time. But that's okay. We'll get it done. It was helpful to do the introduction because, like, hunter questions, I don't hunt. Does that give me an advantage or disadvantage? I don't know. So there's questions there that I definitely need to learn, and since the introductory, I've literally wrote myself an entire book of questions to ask beforehand to help me with this. Darren was great. Went over like questions to ask the hunters. There was a part in the test, because we're on lead, where I wanted to take a shortcut so I wasn't smacking myself through all of these bushes and trees.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known, like, what do you do? Where he was like, hey, just have the hunter hold the leash and then you can take your shortcut so you're not smashing yourself through all these jagger bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Something so simple that I would have never thought of, especially at that time doing a test. Because when you're doing a test, it's more intimidating than just going out in my yard and doing it with my dog myself.
Right.
So it was, definitely good to start there, because I definitely learned things that I should be working for to do the beginner test.
Yeah, the starter level test. So let's go. So
And the seasoned.
and also the season. Yep. Hi,
We're
Kyle.
training for the season.
Yep.
So part of that is as well is it also helps you prepare mentally for tracks in real life. Because you're going to get nervous. You're going to have to work through situations mentally in the field, and so people doesn't think about that aspect of the testing to prepare you for it.
So I kind of have a question. So, like, we track quite a bit together, and a lot of the times I will have the dog on lead when we go to do something, and she's really involved with it though too. Now, is it basically it's the dog taking the test? So when she does the tests, like, I necessarily wouldn't have to test the dog. Like, once it gets that cert, that's the dog per se, not the handler.
So
Or
it's
am I
dog and
encouraged
handler
to do it?
actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess what I'm saying is, should I test the dog as well? Or should maybe, we have other bloodhounds. Maybe I'll just bring another bloodhound and test
There
that
you
one.
go.
Yeah. So what I would say is, it's not required. The testing is not even required
Right.
in PA. What I will say is you will gain from it being the handler.
Yes.
No,
and
I think Brittany could kind of speak on that through the eval. Just being the handler is a whole different level of engagement and nerves and working through things, and you will gain a lot just by doing that. Even if the dog just completely smashes it, you're going to be a nervous wreck.
Right, because I seen things with the dog that she was kind of more caught up in the moment, which I could see the dog's cues, like if he got off, where he picked a set, like, or if he would like get back on it, get excited, like I could almost read the dog's cues.
Yep.
Just standing in the background, and I wasn't taking the test. So, I mean, there's things that I benefited just from kind of being, 10 feet, 20 feet away,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I
And
picked
that-
up on some too.
Yes, for sure.
And that's exactly Michael's point that he said. As a judge, when you're following along, standing back, you can observe and see things that you might not. And then, when you're the
In the
handler,
moment.
just like Kenny said, even though this was an introductory evaluation, it wasn't a test at all. It was just an evaluation to give us a benchmark of where you're at as a handler, where your dog is, and then develop that course of action development for to prepare you for the real world, and then the testing series if that's what you wanted to do. And even though it was an evaluation, it is a little, you get a little anxious with somebody right there, evaluating what you're doing. So you can miss some of those cues. So that's great. That's
Yeah,
great.
like a lot of the testing that we do at home, like not testing, but
Yeah.
we'll lay a track out here, and then I'm usually the one that'll take him out the next morning because he's working all day. So
Mhm.
I am working with him a lot, but there's little cues that I do sometimes see and sometimes miss
Mhm.
that, like, when you're recording, you go back and look, and then you'll see something. It's like, oh, okay. But you're so caught up in the moment of seeing where he's going in the moment that sometimes they do get missed.
So Brittany, you do record your practice lines then.
I do. I
You go back
actually
and break it down. Perfect.
I really enjoy that app that, like, you lay it and then the dog lays it to compare.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. It's the side by side. I don't know.
Well, interestingly enough, I'm for the Michigan event. We talked about it last night. I'm putting together a whole segment on that, or a whole segment that will include some of that. So I'm really excited about it, and that's good. You're ahead of the curve as far as I'm concerned. In your approach to things, because so much can be learned by that.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, there's a handsome man. Yeah. All baggy and wrinkly. There he is. Oh, I love it. So, Ted, did you test or anything?
I did test. So I ran the started level. And after that test, which I wasn't nervous until they said, "All right, time to load up into the cars." Then I was just like, "Oh man," my heart was in my gut. So I did end up running the started, and then it was my 10th wedding anniversary, so I had to be home that evening. So Mike actually gave up the line. He was going to run for a season test for me and Bonnie, so he ran that as well.
Nice. Started and seasoned.
Yes.
Awesome. And so did you have a new tie to wear on your anniversary dinner?
What's that?
Did you have a
I
new
just
tie?
got home to eat at home, and then I came back up to the seminar the next day.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
He had a pass. He said he had a pass that day.
yeah, we went out to dinner whenever I got back from the weekend, but I did want to try to make it home that night. So bless you, lets me follow my passion. But great event. I enjoyed running both those lines. So
His dog loves me too.
she's a little goofy on a leash, and she was pretty amped up for the started test. And she likes to bark and growl a little bit, but usually after the line, she settles down with the hunters and stuff. I don't let them pet her before, or even really after, but I'll let her socialize a little bit more after. She's fine whenever she's like getting a picture and stuff with the hunters and the deer, but she has some
Until
issues.
you make a farting noise.
Yeah, she's got that little issue too. If you want to get her attention,
She even got weird with me. What you did.
Yeah, trying to get a picture. I told Kenny to make a farting noise, and he did, and she freezes completely stone cold. But then she gets real scared after.
Oh, that's funny.
She is a special gal.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
she's special, that's for sure.
Cool.
But did you feel
Yeah, I
prepared
actually-
for the test, Ted?
What's that?
Ted, did you feel prepared for the testing?
Yeah, I did. I felt very prepared for the started and every part of the season except for the 5-minute stop. We hadn't practiced that. We'd stop before for maybe a couple seconds at a post and sign, but never for 5 minutes. So I didn't know how that was going to go.
So
Takes forever, doesn't it?
That.
Let's 5 minutes felt like forever, and Bonnie was just staring down the line. But then about 4 minutes in, she started like running around trying to go over to Bob, get to see what's going on. I'm like, well, she was concentrated for 4 minutes, and then I put her right back on the line, and she took it again. But then we blew up a couple woodcock, and she chased those. And I was just like, oh, boy, we're going to fall apart here. That's when my heart sunk a little on that line. But I called her right back over to the line and put her back on it, and no problems from there on out.
Okay. All right. So, sound like you did just fine to me, brother. And according to Bob Bluebell's comment, you're being a little too humble, buddy.
Well, the season test was easy for me because there was no blood. It all washed away. On the
Yeah.
started test, I could feel myself getting nervous when I wasn't running into blood.
Oh, yeah.
But the season
How much
test
did we
had all
train
been-
with blood, Ted?
What's that?
How much did we train with blood, Ted?
The first couple of weeks, that was it. So I started looking for blood, not paying attention to Bonnie on that started test. And I was like, if we made it like 50 yards without seeing blood, I was like, oh man, what's going on here? But with the season test, it was raining. It was just, I mean, everything was soaked. So I just had to hold the leash.
Follow along. Yeah. I tested last weekend too, but off lead, and I didn't see a speck of blood until about the last 30 yards. So, yeah, cool. Well,
There'll be a bunch of blood, and I'm not going to see it as fast as Dexter moves.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that, Matt? Our little demonstration on change of behavior with Dexter?
Tell me about it. No.
Well, he's all fired up. He's locked up in the truck watching all this other stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
Watching me go and lay lines, and he comes out of the truck just shaking like a crackhead.
Yeah.
And I put him up on a scent trail and told everybody, watch his changes of behavior. You'll see him working the cone and stuff like that. I unhooked that leash and sent it, and he sent it. I've never seen that dog run a line so fast. And he didn't pass up the 90, which was kind of amazing. I don't know how he stopped himself to catch it.
He caught it, huh?
Oh, it was ridiculous. That dog was so juiced up. I'm sure. I wish somebody would have recorded it, though. I don't know if it would have just been a blur. But it was interesting to see that dog all amped up like that. Like I said, figure he's being tortured. He was being tortured the whole weekend watching everything happen.
Yeah,
that was a fun moment.
Yeah.
That's him, though. What's that?
He was fast.
Yeah, my dog gets cranky too when she knows I'm laying lines, and you can't hide it from her. And taking this another dog back to run it and stuff, she gets a little cranky too. So I usually run her on the used lines later. But I get it. Yeah. So Brittany and Adam, let's talk about. So you found a lot of value in the introductory evaluation. You walked away with a lot of notes. You walked away with notes, if I understood you correctly, largely in reference to the Hunter interview. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, there was a lot of helpful information put out at the seminar too.
That's where I wanted to go.
Shots and stuff, like what they were shot with or where it was shot with placement in hours. So yeah, I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even just the demonstration you had with the 3D target and the shots and like what
Yeah.
people say no man's land or this or that, or
Yeah.
like I personally I like the field stuff, which I know our weather was horrible. So I mean I'm sure everybody wanted to do more field demonstration than we did probably, but even just the arrows and stuff like that were prepared. It was good to see that kind of stuff. And I know for her, like she hasn't hunted a whole lot. I've hunted my whole life and hunted archery forever. It's just good to pick up on those cues that you might not always, you get a call in the middle of the night or something, somebody wants you to go track their deer. Sometimes you might not look at that stuff as heavy, especially as beginners,
Yeah.
so that's useful information for somebody getting into it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Adam. I know because I saw a picture of it and I took a screenshot and sent it to Michael with it circled. Said, "Where did you get this?" And I think he said it was Darren's, Michael. But so you've hunted forever, Adam,
Yep.
and then you go to the event. Did you learn anything about anatomy that maybe you didn't know, or anything like that?
Even just like with intestines and stuff like that, I didn't really know that was such a hard thing to track, like, or the deer lived that much longer, like compared to a gut shot, like if you would hit intestines and like just
Yeah.
I mean different aspects like that. Like I don't know, I've honestly been very fortunate. I've never lost a deer to a bow kill. Like I've always had good shot placement or just luck or whatever you may have it. But
Yeah.
I've just never really experienced what a lot of the clients that we will have or would have experience with.
I realized
not
doing
being
this,
able to find the deer.
there's a lot of people that are terrible shooters.
They just they
Yeah.
probably shoot when they shouldn't, but they get excited.
Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, that's right, and that's what keeps us busy,
Yep.
But not always, and I want to make sure for the hunters that are listening, there's no shame in the game in calling a tracker. You made a bad shot, so what? It happens to the best of us. That twig you didn't see, the gust of wind, that animal moved, who knows what. But and what I tell people is just control what you can. You control your shot selection. Shot placement, maybe not so much because of the things I just described, but you can control your shot selection. And just do your best with that. And and the reason I asked about anatomy is I consider myself an anatomy nerd, but not that I'm an anatomy expert. Okay, I want to just be sure that I clarify. I'm not an anatomy expert, but I'm an anatomy nerd. I really like anatomy, and I saw that they had a Brian Johnson sculpted model there, and his work. He's actually been on the lives here a couple months ago, and we're going to have him back. Late summer, just before the season opens, we want to have him back and do a part 2 with him because I don't know if you guys know Brian Johnson or not, but the Anatomy Hunter. If you don't, it's well worth looking him up. But and go back on YouTube and look at the live stream we did with him. It's on American Blood Trackers on YouTube. I highly recommend you watch that. His work, and become familiar with his work, because he is the only. I keep referring to him as my only trusted source for anatomy. His anatomy stuff is the most accurate out there, and I've learned a ton from it. So
the target we had that Darren brought was the Reinhardt.
Yeah.
It was Brian Johnson's.
It was sculpted by Brian. Yeah, I immediately recognized it in that 2 seconds it flashed on the highlight video that Michael or somebody put together and posted. But I want to get one of them. I keep looking on their website and I can find it, but it doesn't list it for sale. So I don't know.
I believe they're discontinued.
Yeah, that could be.
And I can appreciate the deer, like you're talking about the anatomy. I was a vet tech for a while, so it was very nicely put together.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And I was talking to somebody about anatomy that bow hunters look at anatomy on or hunters, I should say, focused on the best place to put the arrow to get a good, clean, quick kill. And that's really what Brian Johnson does too. His center kill technology and all of that stuff, which is just literally brilliant stuff. But trackers look at anatomy a little bit differently because you didn't put the arrow in the right spot. So we're looking at it and learning the anatomy so to help so we can explain to the hunters that behind that scapula, that plate of armor in the bow hunting sense, is a whole bunch of nothing. And that spine dips way down. A deer has 13 ribs, and the heart is behind. Not that you're counting ribs, but you know what I mean. That depth of detail. That the stomach is really about this far from the heart. So you think it's a heart shot, but you missed it by that much and got gut. All of those tiny little things. The fact that the back of the lungs and come back kind of surround behind the guts because of the concave convex shape of the of the lungs and the diaphragm and all of that. See, I'm nerding out on it, but that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love. And unless you look at it from okay, Darren, I got to call Reinhardt. Thank you. I might just do that, but I don't know what I was saying. I was babbling, but yeah, anatomy. You go back and watch that Brian Johnson one. You'll see it's late into the video, but you will see why frontal shots are absolutely foolish. Particularly with the bow and arrow. And I'm not calling anybody a fool, but you'll see why if the deer doesn't drop within 100 yards, why it ain't gonna drop. Because your kill zone's about that big, and then your arrow's deflecting, or you're getting one long, and all of those things. Frontals, if they need a tracker, the recovery rate's very low on those. You'll see very clearly why. So I would encourage anybody to go back and watch that Brian Johnson segment. You can find it on American Blood Trackers Association on YouTube. But what about you, Ted? Now you've been around. You've been to the seminars before, but what was your highlight? What was your biggest takeaway, and what are you talking about most from the event?
So the testing, getting feedback, that was great. Just getting to talk with everybody, meeting a ton of new people. But I really did like the stuff we could do outdoors. With the area that was completely cleaned off, but the peroxide still.
Whoa, don't talk about that.
Oh,
don't talk about that. No.
You didn't give me any warnings.
No, I'm teasing. But yeah. Don't give it away. We got another event coming up in a few weeks.
Okay, so we don't want to give it away.
But there was a shot
so there was a few things in there that I really liked.
Really cool.
Yeah. Another one that showed how far stuff can travel. I'll just leave it at that. Hair, dander, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was that actually worked out pretty good. The updraft, picking that confetti up and picking it up into the air.
Yeah, it took it up over the trees. I mean, that was crazy because that confetti's a lot heavier than your deer hair and stuff.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have videoed it. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was pretty wild to give a visual on just how far that stuff can travel, especially when you think about how heavy that is versus a strand of hair.
Mm-hmm.
Or dander.
So did one of you guys come up with the peroxide trick, or
you can't talk about that?
That's yeah. Actually, I did. It's something I had been thinking about for a while, and I never did it. And I literally tested it the night before.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was really interesting. 'Cause that thing looked clean as could be.
Never would have thought about that.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, another tool in your bag, man, and that's what this stuff is about. You know, there's only so many ways you can slice the pie when it comes to this stuff, and finding new ways to dissect things and present things and get trackers and handlers to engage with things and look at them from a different perspective. That's the trick, and talking about things that haven't been done before, but we've all discussed before, and then finding a way to turn that into, a hands-on little workshop segment or, a presentation, a different way of thinking about it. And, to me, that's particularly as, these seminars and things are becoming, more popular, we do more of them, and the more experienced handlers get, trying to find ways that keep experienced people engaged and continuing to learn. And by doing that and trying to do those mental gymnastics, it helps us continue to get better too, because we're forced to think about, so it's not the same old cookie cutter rinse and repeat stuff. Now, that cookie cutter rinse and repeat stuff, there's value in it. I don't want to diminish any of it, because particularly for new people, that's pure gold for Brittany and Adam, you guys, and new people, that's pure gold. But for people that have been in the game a while, we're trying to find ways to keep them engaged. That's what prompts that shot site analysis that you guys were just talking about, that new way of doing things, or different way. I shouldn't say new, I should say different ways, in finding little angles and elements to dive into and just expand that, because the littlest thing grows knowledge base, right? And I don't know, I'm babbling again. I'm nerding out on it. So
Ted, the realism of these test lines, what did you think of that?
They were very real. I mean, they were challenging. The started line, I mean, we ended up over so much coyote poop at one point, and it had grass in it. I'm like, this might have happened since the line was laid. We got stuck there for a good while too. Kenny was with us. I think it was like 5-6 minutes. She was stuck at that little area where
it must have felt that way to him, because it was only about 15 seconds.
Really? It felt like minutes. I was freaking out because I was like, there's so much coyote poop right here. And then she finally did work through it up over the blowdown. I think we were just a little bit downwind of the line right there. Because my judge Mick said that wasn't there whenever he laid the line. So, but I mean, I could see green grass in it. So it felt like I said, 5 or 6 minutes that we were there for. And then the season test, without any blood or anything, I turned around and looked at Joe Tenney one time and said, we didn't have Garmin's, I would be so turned around back in here. Like, I felt like I took 50 90s just because I'm trying to read the dog. Everything looked the same in that side of the forest. And he said, yeah, I'm just looking at this. That's all I'm looking at, 'cause everything looks the same. So they were very real. It was just like whenever when I'm out with a hunter, I'm paying so much attention to that dog and also trying to look for blood, look for anything I can possibly see, that I lose track of where we're at. So I thought they were very real tests.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, Ted, because you're right. And this will probably, it won't get me in trouble because I'll have the Garmin in my phone. We'll be able to get out of there. But I'm rarely intentionally paying attention to where we're at and stuff like that. Hey, Ralph. But you know, I always every once in a while go to the house and says, "You can get us out of here, right?" Oh yeah, yep. Because you know you're right. I'm watching a dog. I'm looking at my handheld. You know, I'm off lead, so a lot of times she's not with me. So I'm watching the handheld where she's at, and you know, trying to stay on her line. So if there is sign, we stand a chance of seeing it, assuming that she's on the line and not working downwind of it. You know, but yeah, that's funny. That's funny because that's very real.
Yeah, I kept thinking we're gonna get a call back at any minute. I swear we already walked down this little fern area, and it just was a different fern area. Those woods looked so much alike. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I mean, with the scent challenge and the wound beds and everything, it's much like a real track. I mean, I was coming up on those wound beds and just like on a real track, like, oh, here's a wound bed right here.
Boom.
It was good to see those on that track because I didn't have any blood. So,
How far is that track that you guys laid for him in that test?
I think Joe said it was right around 900.
Season test.
A little bit more.
Yeah, I'd have to look, but it was somewhere around 900 yards.
Yeah,
Okay.
the standard for a season, Adam, is 800 to 1,000.
Okay.
So it was within that parameter for sure. Yeah, and then the started is 4 to 5. Bob Plubel says it was 900 yards.
That's what I thought they told me it was at the end.
900 yards. So, yeah, you know, I remember one time I used to think 900 yards was a long ways. Now it's just a decent track at that. You know, if someone says a 400-yard track, I'm good. That's a short one. You know, as you do it more, you know, you really start to understand what distance is. And more importantly, what causes distance on a line.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that'll be me. I'll think that I'm there for a minute and it'll only be 15 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stopping at that posted sign for 5 minutes felt like way longer. I kept looking at the judge and Bob, the apprentice judge, like, how much longer do we got to sit here?
I asked that question because John Keslick with Luna, he had commented on that after I was done running him and testing him on his season on the realism, and he said the same thing Ted did. And like, how many 90s did you put in this? I was like, 3. He's like, dude, it feels like we went like 20 of them. I was like, no, just 3.
He probably did, as the dog was problem solving them.
Right, and that dog is it's a lab, you know, a black lab, and she runs very similar to Dexter. I've seen so many similarities in her style of tracking. And you asked about the length of the lines. His was 27 inches under standards. His line was 999 yards, 0.2.
Okay. All right.
And glad I looked down at my Garmin
limit
when I did and ended.
No, there is.
Because I wanted to go a little further.
There is.
Okay.
But we definitely put that dog to the test.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So Brittany, what's next for you guys? And Adam, what's next for you guys? So what did you take away from Pennsylvania or from the event that you are going to employ or have already employed in your training regimen as we go forward?
There's a couple things Michael gave me, you know, like to work across the road and to go through streams. We're going to do a couple extra practice runs before we schedule those testing to get done. Life is busy, but
of course, hey, there's no rush to test. Yeah, and don't do it until you're ready, but also don't not do it because you're scared.
I definitely want it. Like, I think Michael knows, like I'm eager to get it done. I really want to get it done. Hopefully when the time comes, we can maybe get the both very quickly. Hopefully I don't have to wait too long in between to get them done there with them. But definitely laying a couple lines. Michael's gave me some different things to try, trying to trick the dog. I think I might even overstep some of those tricks. I don't know. Sometimes I really lay it to him to try to confuse him. I also don't want to fail him, but in the real world, you don't know which way or what the deer is going to
Well,
do.
you know what?
and you will fail him more by not challenging him enough
There you go.
than you would by challenging him.
And that's exactly where I was going to go, Kenny. But Brittany and Adam, that is what you just described is extraordinarily common for new handlers. I was that guy who wanted that line and that dog's track over that line to be completely, or completely on top of each other. And that was because I didn't know anything. And I wanted my, to feel like my dog knew what it was doing. Well, believe it or not, your dog knows what it's doing right now. It's just a matter of you learning it. And then, so kind of what we talk about too is your dog, Duke knows his job, right? You're not teaching him anything more in terms of how to smell, how to interpret the scent. At this point, if he understands his job, it's a matter of developing the problem solving skills and giving him the latitude and the opportunities to develop them, all the while that's building your skill and ability to read him. And that's where the development is, so that super sexy overlay, as I call it, after it's okay to throw some in there, especially if you've had you just like to see it. It's fun. You want to feel good about it. Give your dog a part of variation. Give him a nice easy one on occasion. But Kenny's right. And it took me a little bit to realize it. I no longer want to see that sexy overlay because there was nothing gained from that line.
Right.
And in fact, that's the whole presentation I'm putting together for Michigan is, I'm titling it "Redefining Success in Practice Lines."
The shoes were great to get too because we never really laid too many lines with the hooves. We did liver drags and stuff like that. I mean, we did do a couple lines with the hooves once we found out about, the gland and all the stuff. But like for Duke, he picked up on that gland pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then with having the shoes, like I'll come home from work. Like I've been working crazy hours the last couple months, but like I'd come home from work, how we were laying a track in the dark so she could do it in the morning. You know what I mean? But
oh heck yeah, man!
But it's also cool to have somebody to do that with. Like we don't have a pile of hobbies. Like it's cool to actually, go be able to do this with her, and she's actually into it because typically, I mean, I guess there probably is a lot of females that do it, but I mean, we love the dogs and it's fun to do,
And I couldn't wait to get those boots.
Yeah.
So you got a pair of the Waskows when you were there?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you
I
put them
haven't
over
used
your
them
Crocs?
personally. I have had him and my dad use them, but I was excited for them because I did.
How do they work on top of Crocs?
I haven't used them yet, so I'll let you know.
Brittany's the one with the nice pair of tracking Crocs. If you remember that video, Matt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I do remember that video now. Yes. Yeah. Well, I would tell you, I before I had the shoes, I had the tracking poles, which is great because they're very realistic in terms of the hoof to ground contact. But man, and I was using two, so I'm going like this. My shoulders are getting tired, and man, it was awesome when I got the shoes.
Yeah,
I love them.
They are a game changer. I only did a couple with the sticks, and I was like, I'll wait until we get the shoes.
Well, and I wasn't wise enough or intuitive enough or whatever to I could have just used one stick. Could have been easier. And it's just the shoes. I like the shoes, so that's cool. Darren Miner says, "Does she put the Crocs in 4-wheel drive, Brittany?"
No, I don't.
No,
No, 2-wheel.
2-wheel only. Okay,
Will dig.
that's funny. So, Ted, I'll ask you the same question. What about you? Is there anything in particular that you took away that you're going to be sure that you employ on your practice lines?
Yeah, gonna start challenging her with some bigger scent breaks, things like that. We have done some with her. She's done a lot of road crossings and creek crossings, and she's done a lot of things. Mike's put her through the ringer a lot of things. So, but I think we're gonna start focusing on some bigger scent gaps and scent challenges, bigger than she's used to. Distractions, I think, start putting some distractions on the line. That woodcock showed me that she loves the track, but she likes to chase birds too. So, so trying to figure out how to incorporate that into our training.
I got you covered.
Yeah, Michael got you. Yeah. So how hard or easy was it to get Bonnie to re-engage after she flushed the woodcocks?
It was actually very easy. I toned her with her Garmin collar, and she just came right back over to me and picked up the line. It actually surprised me because that's the first time. I think one time she got all goofy about a truck making noise on the road.
Okay.
But that was the first time I think we flushed an actual live animal on the track.
So she took interest, but then when
she put her nose down and went right over to them and flushed them out. They were pretty much right on the line.
Yeah.
And then she took chase to them, not any further than the 30-foot lead I had in my hand.
Yeah.
And then she just pulled a little bit. I toned her immediately. She came right back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's my measure. I mean, I call it scratching the itch. And there are some people who don't want their dog to acknowledge anything like that, and that's okay if that's how you want to do it. Who you are, I don't subscribe to that. I'm okay if the dog takes a whiff. Personally, I call it scratching the itch. I let them scratch the itch because what I don't want them to do is be thinking about that, whatever that was, because they didn't get a chance to. And I don't know dog psychology, so I don't know if they work this way or not. But I don't want them to be. Because they couldn't go stick their nose on that dead coon for half a second. Now I'm thinking about that when they're, going down the line. So I let them scratch the itch, they get out of their system, give her and leave it, and she'll snap right back to it. Right,
you have to watch Bonnie though. She likes to fight Black Angus cows, Black Angus bulls.
That was a mess of a track.
That's knowing your dog,
Tell that story, Ted.
Yeah.
So we had a track we call the cow attack track.
Okay.
It was a mess. So I talking to the wife of the hunter through text, and I text her. I'm about 5 minutes out. She texts, "Well, we have a Black Angus loose. He's really nice though. Don't worry about it.
Good.
My kids pet him all the time. He's in the back by the back patch. We just can't get him back in." So I meet the hunter and we take the track. And Bonnie's already being wild. She went through a little phase there where she wanted to run hot tracks. I finally got her to settle down on, I think it was the third reset, and we took it a long way and ran out of property. That hunter actually had a picture of the deer laying on its side, and he jumped it.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah, he probably didn't go that far. Well, she was tracking with purpose on that third reset. And we went very, very far, and I got to a property line. I said, "You have permission?" He said, "Well, it should be fine." Well, I stopped right then. And he never got back to me on whether he got permission or anything, but we were coming out of the woods, and we came out right where that Black Angus cow was standing. Well, the cow faced Bonnie and asked Kenny, when you look at Bonnie weird, she kind of freaks out. So she squared off to this black Angus and starts barking and growling at it. And the cow did not want anything to do with that. He came at us. And now I have her on a 30-foot lead, and it was a biothane lead. I couldn't get any grip on the lead. I'm trying to drag her across this guy's yard. He's trying to stop the cow. The cow knocks him over twice. I'm still dragging Bonnie. I hurry up, get down to this cow is like 10 feet behind me. At this point, it's bucking its back legs every time it takes a step at us. I'm in a Jeep Wrangler, so I throw Bonnie in. I don't even take anything off. I jump in, I throw it in drive, and if I put my turn signal on my rear view camera comes, this thing is hitting the back tire of my Jeep the whole way down the driveway. So then they call me and say, "Hey, you need to come back. We forgot to tip you." I was like, "I am not coming back there." So that was the cow attack track, but he never did find that deer, and I did text him after the season and asked if he ever found it, ever ran into it. Never got pictures of it again. And I asked, "How's my buddy doing?" He said, "We sold him shortly after that incident."
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have anything quite like that yet.
I was pretty shooken up after that one. So
yeah,
it was just like, if it was just me, I would have been able to get away. But with a 60-pound hound pulling you towards the cow, it was a mess.
Yeah, sounds like it.
That was a fun phone call that night.
I questioned this after that track. I was like, what am I doing out here?
Yeah. So, and I'll put this question out to both Brittany, or all three of you, Brittany, Adam, and Ted. So Ted, let me be clear. Was last year your first year tracking for the public? Last year was. So you've got a season under your belt. And Brittany and Adam, you guys have one season under your belt or no?
Yeah, last year we did a couple for like friends and family.
Okay.
Duke, actually, his first find was my nephew's deer, so that was kind of cool, being that it was family and that was his first find. But he found a couple last year, but like we didn't go out to all kinds of public and
there was some that he didn't find that they found on camera weeks or days later.
Yeah.
Also, so
cool thing we actually are figuring out about him is if the deer isn't dead, he actually takes himself back to the truck.
He takes himself back to the truck?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Cherish that. Cherish that. I'm serious, because that, you got a bloodhound, and we've talked about this before. And as much as I love my bloodhound, when she was that age, and when she was Duke's age, that 1.5 years, 2 years old, she was tracking something. Didn't matter. She'd get offline. Okay, I'm going to track this now. And it drove me absolutely batty. There was a time where I was so distraught because she was hot lines. I almost quit all off-season training because it was being counterproductive in my mind, because I was supposed to be training to build confidence in the dog. And when she's off, and I knew she was off, and she was acting like she was on because I couldn't tell the difference. I'm like, I got to stop. I'm losing confidence, and that some of that's the bloodhound thing. So if Duke says, this deer's not dead, and takes himself back to the truck, obviously be sure that is his tell, and he sticks with it. But that
only the couple like that we didn't find, and he's went back, they've found on a trail camera. There's 3 of them, so not fully set in stone, but from what we're
an early indicator. Yeah, that's good. And just keep in mind, nationally, for on-lead tracking, 60% of the time, you're not going to put a deer on the tailgate. And the biggest 2 contributors to that are the deer's not dead or property stops. So, Matt, I talked about it before when I don't remember if it was on one of these live streams or my own podcast or what it was, but when the hunter who's believes their deer is dead, and they start asking you, are we going to find it and things like that. The way I manage that expectation is by saying, well, if it's dead, we got a legitimate shot. But 60% of the time nationally does not end with a deer on the tailgate. And you see this kind of a blank look come over their face. Now, you get in some of the off-lead states, and I'm in an off-lead state, but, that can change a little bit. But and then the type of team you are, and we're going to do a stream on this.
You're like a bloodhound?
What's that? Yeah. You got a bloodhound. You're not. You may find them and you may know where it went, but you ain't going. You most of the time, yeah. And I know that was a shot. I'm just choosing to ignore it, Mullen.
You're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
Kyler wanted to say hi to everybody.
Hey, Kyler. Hi, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
That's the future right here.
You taking care of Dad, bud? Did you have fun fishing today, pal?
Yesterday,
Yesterday?
it was chocolate milk, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. I like chocolate milk, buddy. Cool. But anyway, yeah, just managing that expectation and knowing that yeah. But so one thing I was going to ask is, so we talked about what you may have learned that you're going to employ in your training. What about? Is there anything that you learned or got validated in terms of how to engage with a hunter? How to communicate with a hunter. For example, I guess what I just talked about, just kind of managing the expectation that 60% of the time you don't end with a deer on a tailgate. And then of course you have to walk through the reasons why, so they don't just think that the deer aren't dead or property stops. Any host of reasons, but those are probably the two biggest reasons. But anything from a hunter perspective or hunter expectation management or anything like that that you took away that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I do want to start using that American Blood Tracker as like liability form that Kenny had put up on the screen at one point. I think when he went over all of that and property lines and trespassing, and I took a lot from Lancaster with that, and then didn't do anything about it. And then I took it back again at this one. I was like, I got to do something about that this year because I know hunters were lying to me last year. I know they were, especially me being new, and they could tell I was probably a little nervous. Yeah, we have permission. And I'm looking, I'm like, yes, God doesn't have permission. I just feel like he doesn't. So I do want to get the liability and be stricter with the hunters this year.
Yeah, that's cool.
I feel like that log is a pretty good idea too. Like,
Yeah, I did order it.
somebody mentioned about they log every track they do. They get the hunter's, license number, all the stuff, the date of the track, time, whatever. But I never really thought of something like that. But that would be good info to have in case, God forbid, you to have to, answer to a game warden or.
Yeah, I ordered it.
Or just for your own personal, notebook, really, like, oh, yeah, shit, we went on a track that day or this, or just for your own use as well.
Yeah. So this tracking journal, that's what you're talking about in the order one? Oh, good. My buddy Terry developed that. Kenny offered him some nice input too for his next revision. Cool. Well, good. Yeah, I that form, Kenny, I don't know if you saw it. Tony Hayes asked if we can post that form. He'd love to see it.
I'm actually going to put it in the members section of the website.
Perfect.
Probably next week. I may try to do it tomorrow, but got a pretty busy week and just getting back from Louisiana and PA and getting ready for Michigan. I'm a little swamped.
Yeah, I get it, man. I had a really lumpy week last week too, and my whole June is just blown up. But yeah, so be watching the website, guys, if you want that. I guess I think I'd call it liability, or Ted calls it liability form. But there are a lot of versions of them out there, and I know the one that Kenny uses, and it's good stuff. And I will admit that I don't use one, or I haven't used one, but I've and some of that's just laziness, or I don't want to go, maybe complacency on my part. I just don't. But I really, it's really good idea too. Really good idea too. And
yeah, I haven't seen the one.
We've had several. Oh, sorry. We've had several game officers talk about the trespassing, and I've shared that forum, and they're like, it does show that you've at least made an attempt to do the right thing.
It shows good faith and intent for sure. What were you saying, Brittany?
I haven't seen the one that he posted, but I feel like since that seminar, I kind of, when I came home, I Googled some things and threw one for myself together. So I'm curious to compare mine to his and see what he has that maybe I should add on the one that I threw together. Because I just kind of threw one that has, are you allowed to pass this property, the license number. That was something that they talked about at the seminar, like getting their hunter license number. And then, they said like in text, or in this case, like on a paper, asking permission if you have permission to cross property lines. So I'm curious to see when that one gets posted and what mine that I threw together. Like I said, I got on Google and threw something together, and then took pieces of the seminar that I had remembered and added it to mine.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see if I can pull it up and share the screen.
Okay.
But y'all can go ahead while I'm looking for this.
I'll go back, in talking about hunter engagement. I think a big part of what, as trackers, we're there to provide, ultimately, the hunter's hoping we can find their deer, right? But if 60% of the time that doesn't happen, what other value can we provide? And it's answers, it's probable answers, I guess, and by, we know the deer went this way. You take all of the pieces of the puzzle, you put it together, and you can come up with a likely scenario that can at least give them, what I call resolution, track resolution. And to me, so that it's more than just dropping your dog and following your dog and hoping it ends with a brown furry thing at the end. It's a deer, not a coon or something. Anatomy is huge, and I keep coming back to anatomy, and that's why I brought it up before, because many times hunters just have been a little bit surprised when I was able to walk them through some of that stuff, and particularly when you start talking about angles. The slightest angle makes the biggest difference, can make the biggest difference, and angles are huge. And the deer, when the hunter says the deer was broadside, well, probably not, frankly, truly broadside. There was some version of an angle most of the time, and that some version of an angle is the difference between a double long and a single long liver. So that's the difference in a dead deer in 150 yards or a dead deer in 400 yards and 18 hours later,
Matt, can you see that screen?
Got it right here, buddy. Okay. I thought I could do a solo layout with that, but I can't.
Which, like I said, I'll post this in the members area of the website.
Okay, you probably see me getting real close. I'm like trying to zoom in and look at it.
Yeah, it won't work.
Let me see if I can zoom in on my end. I don't know.
Yeah, you'll be able to, Kenny.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How do I do
That's
that?
okay. If you, I mean, even I think Darren said on here he had a copy of it that I could get his number and he could send it too. But yeah, this is, I mean, it looks probably much more simpler and complex than the one the one I have.
Yeah, I feel like yours had a lot.
Oh, there you go.
How's that?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
you can, yep, you can read it there.
Yeah. You know, anything is better than nothing for sure. And I'm sure Darren, considering his background, is probably very, very thorough.
Yeah, and then this is a form that I used to use, which I have an electronic version.
Oh yeah, the record sheet. Yeah, I do too. I use a Google form to track my stuff.
Yeah, but you know, it's good to have paper, and that book's good to have it, because when you're out in the field, you know, you don't always take the time to input it into
Yeah,
the
exactly.
electronic form like a Google form. So it's easier just to write it down and then go back later and input it so that you can have all the cool graphs and keep record and pull all that back up and spreadsheets and all that it generates.
Yep, for sure. Well, let's take let's grab a couple of comments here, and then we'll you know, barring any other discussion points, we'll roll into kind of a Michigan preview here.
All right.
So we got to say this. Darren Miner, Brittany's dog completely smashed the eval. She wanted to take and was ready for the started test. So you have an experienced tracker and an ABTA judge saying, Brittany, you're ready. You and Duke are ready for this started level test.
I think my dog might be more ready than me, but
well, so and that's okay, yeah, and it's just if you've done the work, most of the time when a test is not completed successfully, it's because the handler inserted themselves into the track.
Yep.
yeah. But I'm glad that he said, and I know we talked to him after the evaluation part there too, and he did say that he thinks that, you know, definitely get started on that starter test. So it's definitely good to hear. Like I said, I've been very eager to get it.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, and you've got judges right there close, so you know, you can do that when you're ready, and you know, and it should be when you're ready. You've got a whole cast of characters right here saying that your dog's ready when you are. So, you know, there's no pressure in it, and be sure you're comfortable with it. But when you do, just let the dog be the dog. If you've done the work and the dog understands its job, let it do it. Let it do it. And if you don't end with a ribbon and a certificate, so what? Because that's not where the value lies. The value lies in, you know, if you don't pass it, then what did you do? You just got a private lesson. That's the worst thing that happened. You just got a private lesson.
Right.
And now you know, run these 2 isolation drills for another couple of weeks or another couple of days, or hey, let your dog be a dog, go test tomorrow.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna really reveal what I've been working on, but I will say I was writing something up today, and you know, one thing that I touched on was when you start getting into tracking and testing, and you know, we see people that try to control the dog, and if they're doing that, sometimes they're doing it to test. It's just nerves. But if you do that in training and you don't allow the dog to problem solve, you will never have a good dog. You know, you'll never have a great dog, you know, because now you're creating a dog that's relying on you rather than being independent. and one thing that really leads to that is overhandling the dog, talking to the dog too much, not challenging it like we were talking about earlier. You get a dog that's dependent on you, and you'll see it a lot. Like judges will see it a lot when you have a dog that goes up and they're just constantly looking back for confirmation that they're doing right. So be mindful of that as you train and you start progressing through all of this, that let the dog work, and I'm not one to say trust your dog, because you have to know your dog. You can trust it, but trust is earned. And so and then in the early stages, you can trust, but you better verify that they're right.
Yeah.
So as you go into it, start challenging your dog on your practice lines, give him the room to work, let him problem solve, and you will know your dog when it comes time, and you'll be able to trust your dog and let that dog work.
Yeah, I try to, like I said, that app that tracks it, and I try to record everyone, and I typically try to send them to Mike. I said I probably drive him nuts sending him all these videos and pictures. So
He just shook his head yes.
no, he probably did, because I'm always sending
I'm
them.
surprised I haven't gotten any the last couple of days. What's been going on?
Life. Okay, life.
I mean, Michael, when I called her yesterday to invite her on the show tonight, can you believe that it took her a while to call me back because she had to cook dinner and feed her kids and stuff?
It wasn't just my kids. I had
Who does that
here too. So I had extra kids.
I'm teasing, of course. Life, How is Duke's recall, Brittany?
It's good with with the Garmin, with the beeper. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely times where he's
a bloodhound.
He's a bloodhound. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That
stubborn.
Yeah.
But for what
the tone button's your friend.
Yeah, for what we do with him, and what, for the most part, he listens very well to the beep.
Yeah. Well, Kenny knows where I'm going with this, man, and you just learning your dog's natural problem solving tendencies. The best, I am a humongous advocate for staying as far away from your dog as you can and letting him do that, whether that's dropping that lead and letting him do it, or if you're not ready for that yet, getting
in
training. Yes, Kenny. I'm sorry. Thanks for qualifying. In training, dropping that lead and let him do his thing, or getting a really super long lead. Now you're going to want to do this in more open area and just stay back, 50 feet, 100 feet, whatever, and just observe and let him do his thing. And on a known line, so you know where it is, or lay it on the Garmin and then watch him on the Garmin so you know where he is in relation to the line. But that's just game changing if you can do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we do pretty well with that line, but I don't know. That app works great.
Dog tracks.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know. Forgot what it was called, but I love that.
Oh, dog. Okay, yeah, for sure.
I wish, and I do. I think I asked him even for what we had, a 30-foot lead, and I would like a little bit longer one myself.
Well, and that, yeah. I mean, and when I talk about length, I'm talking about just in a place where you can, in the real world, you got to decide what's right for you. But in training, if you can just get away from him for a while, you'll really see what he wants to do and how he wants to problem solve without you chasing him around.
No, we're blessed with the property we have, and we can really let him do a lot.
Yeah.
With that, he could be 900 yards away, and I could beep him, and I could see him on a line back to the house.
Yeah, well, that's what you want.
They get a lot of freedom if that's what you're asking recall wise. But when we lay a track, obviously we do have them on lead. But
if his recall is that good, you know, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we've done it both ways, but
We never drop the lead.
it's okay in training.
that's right.
Liberating, I call it. Bob Plubell says we live real close, so we can get the started test done when she's ready, Brittany.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think he's what, 15, 20 minutes away.
No, that's real close. Yep.
But I know that I've been, like I said, I've met, actually, I don't even know how. I actually reached out to Michael because I wanted to send a dog to him for training. And he's like, yeah. And it kind of turned into this, which actually is great. Like, I'm super thankful to have met everybody that we've met at the seminar and everything. Very helpful with everything.
Yep. So, Brittany, Darren Miner just booked you for a live stream, January of 2026. He says, I believe Brittany's going to be tracking for the general public for the first time this season. It would be nice to talk to her after the season. So you're on the list, Brittany.
Okay.
Yep, Brittany and Adam.
Yep,
and actually,
Adam. Yep.
I know this kind of backtracks to the last live you guys did, but that was it Tractive or Tactive?
Tractive. Yep.
Yeah, so I think I did post in there. I'm gonna order it regardless. I'm just gonna see how it does because I did look at that like GPS satellite thing, and it did say that the signal was weak here. But I'm gonna try it. It was like what, $50, so I think we're still gonna try it.
Plus a subscription, but remember, Tractive uses 3 satellite systems: the American system, GLONASS, and I think it's the Chinese one. I got to look it up. But
that LTE looked pretty decent too. That I was thinking about trying that as well from Garmin.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I know that was backtracking, but I just wanted to give you.
That's okay.
That I will order it and keep you guys posted.
Yeah. I'm looking for. There are a couple of other comments here. Yeah, Bob Quinn says, "Does the dog still track when it is raining? This may be a year of tracking." Yeah, Bob is, and I see somebody further down. I think Courtney. Yeah, Courtney. Rain freshens the scent, and Courtney is right. Rain can enhance the scent
to a degree.
Yeah, so there will come a point. Gully washers can be problematic, but I can see a pretty distinct difference in that classic fall rain. We had one 35 hours, and after an inch and a half of rain that we recovered. We ran a test line at 30 hours here a few weeks ago and ran it, and it had been raining all day, and the line to go to waste, so we went and ran it. Yeah, Bob. Moisture is generally a good thing, but there does come a point. So Thomas Rushing, Thomas, I'm going to put your question up here, but I think it's been answered. I have a question about scent shoes and have 9-week blue lacy puppy. How do you introduce the scent shoes? Did a 40-yard leg drag with success? I'd like to get him started with the shoes. Kenny, you want to field that one?
Yeah, I would say at 9 weeks, don't worry about it.
Yep.
Focus on obedience, get that obedience down. Work on your sit, work on your place. It's okay to have some fun, but at 9 weeks old, they don't have the focus for a lot of strenuous training. I would do what you're doing, have some fun with some short stuff. You can use the shoes, but keep it short, keep it simple. You don't want them to lose interest. Keep it fun and get that obedience down, because you will want that later.
Yeah. Yep.
But as far as transitioning from a drag to the shoes, just lay the trail. That's as simple as that.
Yep, exactly. And I think most people supported that, but I wanted you to chime in on the 9-week-old piece. Let's see. Ralph, if you're still listening, and I wanted you to see this comment from Alice. Hi, Ralph. Bennett Gunner is a hit with everyone. So loved by everyone. So there you go, Ralph. Yeah, Brittany, you saw Darren's comment, right, about sending him a text. Yep, okay.
Yeah. I have another phone up because I don't know how to work it on one screen.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see what Courtney has to say here. Courtney DeMello, talking about the value we provide. I had a hunter tell me this year when we were talking after the season, and I tracked for his wife, and eventually the deer showed back up, that he thought about what I told them when I was out there, which caused them to wait longer to track the deer later in the season. Perfect. He goes, so in a way, you helped find that one too. There's value in how we represent ourselves, dogs, and tracking, and the education we provide. And Courtney, that is so spot on.
Yep. And that's a prime example why I'm not a fan of screening calls and having so much focus on quote unquote success rates, because a lot of people would turn a track down that they believe they can't recover. And some of them, I get it. If they're charging a fee, they're not wanting to seem like they're just trying to take someone's money. But there's value in going out there and giving closure and educating the hunters. Just like that, they came back and they were appreciative, and now you have a customer for life.
Yeah, that's 100% right. You know, and if you are charging and you think it's unrecoverable, and that's okay. I mean, we may all make assessments. Just share that information, and if they want to have you go, if they don't, that's up to them. But full transparency, sharing information is what it is all about. And that post right there makes me happy. Thank you.
And not only do you have a customer for life, you have a supporter of the tracking community.
Yes,
for life, and that's even bigger.
Kenny, does Dog Tracks work without cell service?
Good question. I don't know.
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does because it has to like radar in on that. I don't know. It's like a red zone. I don't know what it is, but it has to like radar in on your location. But I really don't know.
Your phone does use GPS as well as triangulation of cell towers. So if it does, it probably wouldn't be as accurate.
Let's find out. Let's see what Gemini says. And I have a love-hate relationship with the Dog Tracks.
I love it.
Yeah. You love it?
I love it.
I love the information it provides. I hate how glitchy it can get or temperamental it can get with
operator errors.
No.
That bloodhound rubbing off on you.
See, Brittany, that's one thing I wanted to talk about with you and Adam. You guys have probably the most superior tracking hound ever bred. So your job and your career trajectory is going to be very, very easy and very successful. Simply because
except for that thing between the ears,
the brain.
No. And his
Hey, Matt.
he's all nose too. Like if his nose to the ground, he'll walk right into a wall.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That disconnect between the ears.
Matt, I challenge you to come check out the Oglethorpe Triangle next year.
The Kentucky Triangle?
The Oglethorpe Triangle.
Oglethorpe. Oh yeah.
Bring you and your dog, and we'll see how they do.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm just saying.
Darren Miner passed it, but it was rough.
The Oglethorpe Triangle. I've heard you guys talk about that more than once.
Yeah, Darren.
Yeah, we have a
Darren
spot
kind of
like
was a
that
guinea pig for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we joke because Kenny and I have Kenny and all of us bloodhound people have a long-standing banter about bloodhounds. They're not dumb, but they can be absolute meatheads, man.
Stubborn.
meatheads, but I love them.
I really like. I actually used to. I mean, I still do. Saint Bernards. I worked with Saint Bernards, so
Yeah.
Well, your bloodhound's about the size of one.
actually a lot smaller.
Yeah, dude's pretty big.
He's pretty big, but he's smaller.
Yeah, but back to the question. Bob Bluebell says, I had issues with dog tracks not working at Windbear without cell service. My service was spotty, so I'll say no, it does not. And AI gave me a long explanation. I was going to read it, and it kind of alluded to that. It can get a little lumpy.
But it's an awesome app.
It is. I mean, in all seriousness, I love it, but it drives me nuts because it can get. And you're right, Kenny. Some of it is my error. But
Most of the time, it's when people get into a hurry and they don't wait for it to turn green.
well, you gotta wait for it to turn green. That's for sure. Tom Hill, bloodhounds stink. Stink and slobber. Yes, they do. They represent everything my wife hates in a dog. They stink, they shed, they
That's
slobber.
why you love them.
Yeah, but they're big, derpy tracking machines, and they are tracking machines. But so are lots of dogs. You know, if we can have a serious moment here, you know, I love my bloodhound. We love our dogs, but we like what we like for the reasons we like them. But they're very good tracking dogs, and so are every breed that every one of us on this live stream right now have. They're good. They're good dogs. And, you know, it really boils down to, you know, I think more than the dog, the handler and how, you know, the training, and are we allowing them to be good? Are we putting them in the best position to be the best that they can be? You know, and we learn that stuff by going to these events and listening to podcasts and live streams and being open and receptive to other perspectives and views, and just building that acumen of how everything all fits together, and saying that you know, my way may not be the right way, but it's not necessarily the wrong way. You know, I had this conversation with a very good friend of mine. He's been on here, Daryl. You know, he was talking about training. He said, well, I don't know if it's right, but it's the way I did it. I said, well, Daryl, was it effective? You know, what if it's effective, how could it be wrong? You know, let's oh, look at that Bavarian. Oh yeah.
That's just my tracking cat.
That's your tracking cat?
Yeah, that's my tracking cat. That's our next challenge.
So, Bob Quinn, what do you guys think of a Bavarian bloodhound? Bob, are you talking about a cross between a Bavarian and a bloodhound? I wouldn't do it intentionally because I wouldn't tamper with the breeds, but I'm sure it'd be a tracking machine. Get a dog to fit your needs, Chuck Darby says. Bloodhound, stinking slobber. We have said that. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, let's you want to talk about the Michigan event a little bit, Kenny? Just kind of preview what we got coming. So, well, before we do that, Brittany and Ted and Michael, anything else you guys want to add about the PA event or tracking, or any questions, comments, or anything you wanted to before I get there? There's that hairy sausage dog. Yep.
I'd like to hear Kenny's overview on everything. You really didn't do that.
All right, Kenny. Yeah, what's your summation of the PA event?
So, you know, I think it went well. It didn't go how I wanted it to. I had in my mind to, you know, play out just because of weather. Like I said, we want to do a lot more hands-on out in the field stuff, and I had to scramble and kind of ramble a little bit, trying to hope the rain would quit so that we could get out there, and it just didn't want to stop. You know, but I think overall it went well. I really enjoyed seeing a lot of new trackers.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to say is if you're watching this and you're attending an event, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Oh, please don't.
It took a little while for people to open up and start asking the questions, but once they did, there was more engagement. Like I said, overall, I think it went pretty good. Food was good for sure. The soup that Ted has the secret recipes too.
Nice.
Yeah, it was delicious. The sourdough bread that someone brought that lit me on fire was good.
That was Amber Telford.
Yeah, that jalapeno. Woo, I've never tasted a jalapeno so hot in my life, but it was good. But yeah, like I said, overall, I thought it was great. It was a good crowd. Do I think we can improve upon it? Absolutely. We just didn't really think it through well on our end as far as the weather side of things. So I'm not going to say that it was all perfect.
Yeah. Well, perfection is unattainable, but by chasing perfection, you will catch excellence. Vince Lombardi. That's good. I'm in all seriousness. I'm glad that Michael, you asked Kenny to give us summation, and Kenny, you mentioned that because now that's got my wheels turning about Michigan. We got some hands-on and outdoor interactive stuff planned there too. Okay, so what's the weather contingency? So that's good. That's good to keep that reminder. So I want to just go to Bob real quick. Bob, so hearing about how Bob says no, he was just asking about our thoughts on the Bavarian Mountain Scent Hound, not a Bavarian Bloodhound cross. They are a very capable and competent and popular breed that finds a lot of deer, Bob. You
have to be careful where you get them from.
Yes.
Research the lines, the health testing, and understand that although there are exceptions, just like any other breed, they are slower to mature.
Yes.
Terry Wade made the comment to me one time. He said they grow a leg a year. In 4 years, you finally have a dog, and that can be true. The one that I just held up, she's pretty mature. She's 2.5, I think. I can't remember. And then I have a 1-year-old male, and he's a little more advanced for his age, but than the average. But just keep that in mind that they're not a dog that typically matures as fast as some of the other breeds out there.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up because we just had a fishing trip this weekend with and I was amongst 5 other trackers, and you can imagine the conversations that went on for a day and a half there. And Bavarian, a couple of them have Bavarians, and that's exactly what they talked about. They just mature a little bit slower, and as long as you know that and are prepared for that.
I got like 20 dogs, I think, somewhere in there. So if one matures,
but remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Unless you have a bird dog, it's a sprint. They hit the ground tracking. Just ask Joe Tenney.
Yeah.
Boy, his little stage.
What's that?
I said, I'm just glad somebody else has 20 dogs.
That's funny. All right. Well, cool. Let's Brittany and Adam or Ted, and anything else you want to mention or question or point you want to raise regarding tracking in general or the PA event specifically?
That was our first event, so I obviously don't have another one to compare it to, but I think it went really well. I wish that I would have known about the Clearfield one, only being 15 minutes away. Would have been nice to go to that also, but I don't have any complaints about it aside from, the weather, which you can't control. but it was nice having the inside and outside available because we could stay inside and stay dry and still go over everything and then still go outside and they can still do all the stuff that they want to do out there. You know, it's Pennsylvania, the rain, the wind. Typically June is not this shitty, but here we are. But I, from my experience, I think it went really well and everybody did great with how they had to handle it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. And you mentioned something, but you don't have anything to compare it to, and then that it's not necessarily a comparison. You know, the point is, did you find value in the event? Was it? Did you learn something? And you just talked about a bunch of things that you took away, and you know the introductory evaluation, which is really only a couple of months old in its formal version. That you found a lot of value in that, so we appreciate you sharing that and sharing your experience with it, and Darren chimed in here on the comments about it, so that's good.
And I know Michael's looking forward to doing the next one. But I did tell him if he needs any help, I'll do my best. I can try.
No, I am, and honestly, I've already been brainstorming to
Awesome.
Even build upon what we had here this year.
Yeah,
because next year too, we're going to have a bunch of handlers that are going to be ready for their finish test, right, Ted?
He's ready now.
I'm hoping. I think she'll be up to it by then. So,
but yeah,
we tried to convince him this year.
Yeah, there's.
You almost had me convinced. I was texting the wife. I might not be home tonight. I know we're supposed to get a dinner tomorrow.
I actually did that. Told him that. Kenny, I told him that when we were getting ready to eat, when we were getting the food ready. I was like, "Look, you got a finish line to run tomorrow morning." What?
Hey, we did play a prank on Mike, so Ted and I were involved in it.
I forgot about that.
Michael was a butt of a prank, huh? Imagine.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah. So he contacted me asking how Ted and Bonnie's test went, and I told him that they didn't pass.
Uh-oh.
And he's like, "You're kidding?" I played it off, and then I immediately went outside. I'm like, "Oh, he's probably calling Ted right now. I need to let Ted know what I just told him."
Yeah, man. It was a direct reflection of
the truck. I had no idea he was trying to get a hold of me.
Well, the service wasn't that great there, so it was probably like,
I was panicking. I was. I mean, it definitely got me because I was not expecting that. And Kenny definitely took advantage of me there. But
I felt a little bad, but then I remember some of the tracks you laid.
Oh, there you go. You had it coming, Michael. That's funny.
It happens. No, I'm definitely already brainstorming for next year on what we can do.
Yeah. I'll be interested in those dates next year, Michael.
The venue already is aware of it.
You got the dates locked down yet?
Probably be the same weekend, right, Kenny?
Works for me.
Okay, good.
They don't do
the following, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll let you know.
The venue doesn't do their schedule until October, but with it already being in their ear,
okay,
they'll make it happen for us. I wouldn't mind doing one in March up here. Then we'll see some people complaining about the weather.
I'm not going there in March, I can tell you.
my daughter's birthday and cheer comp. Don't do March.
Late February.
I think July would be better.
Cheer comp.
July or August. Be comfortable.
Did you say beer pong, Brittany?
Cheerleading competitions.
Beer pong.
Yeah.
Beer pong, like what is that a big thing, a big tournament or something?
It can be.
The Eastern Region Beer Pong Tournament.
We can add
You
that
get
in.
sponsors for that or what?
That's one of Michael's new things at the next year's event.
That
Yeah.
evening.
I'll sponsor
Yeah, that's funny.
The loser has to go run a test line.
it.
Oh, no. Brad, what about you, buddy? Any last?
No, I mean, I thought it was a great event. The testing was awesome. The knowledge was awesome. Food. I mean, I just thought it went well all around. I really enjoyed it.
Good deal. Well, let's preview the Michigan event. So first of all, for anybody who is in that Western PA and couldn't make the event, Michigan is only probably a 8-hour drive, maybe less, depending on where you're at. I know for me, I drove to Lancaster, and it was about a 9-hour drive, and so Michigan's available, and we would certainly welcome you if you wanted to make the trip. And anybody else, registrations are still wide open for that. We're narrowing in on what the testing is going to look like, and I'm going to keep it very, very limited. Kenny and I talked about that last night. Kayla and I talked about it a little bit on my drive home from work today, and we're going to talk about it more tomorrow. But, Michigan event is still open. That is weekend of June 28th. We're going to have something Friday afternoon too, the 27th. And then we are running a finish line kind of baked into the event. So that's available.
What happens after the finish if they pass the finish line?
Then if they pass the finish line, then Saturday night after the event, we're going to debut the elite test. In fact, that finish line and the elite line are already mapped out, and all we need is to run them, lay them and run them. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And I'm not. You never know what's going to happen, but I hope it works out that we can run the elite, because that I will be honored for it to its debut to be in Michigan on frankly my property. Not that matters, but I'll always have that. But then so that's June 28th. Then in September weekend of 13, 14, 12, 13, I can never remember. That's the Iowa event, and that is registration is open there too. So get them penciled in. Michigan, we're really asking you to get that booked right away, or as soon as you can. I mean, we're not going to cut it off, but as soon as you can, so we can plan accordingly. So what can you expect at the Michigan event? Well, much of the same greatness that you saw in Pennsylvania, but with a Michigan flavor. And I'll just walk through the topics as they are penciled in today. We're going to have a science of scent and training tactics kind of combined together. We're going to have reading the dog on the trail. That's been a real popular request for Michigan. People want to just hear more about reading their dogs. So we have things planned for that. We're going to redefining success for practice lines. That's one that I'm working on and really excited to present that, and that'll have a lot of depth and angles to it too. We're going to do a hit site and anatomy, not necessarily one and the same, but potentially, because I think anatomy is huge. The better that everybody understands anatomy, the better off we all are. The bow hunters, so they know what they are hitting and what that ain't, what's happening when they hit here and what's happening, what they're really hitting when the deer's on this angle. And then trackers anatomy is important, because similar to what we talked about a little bit ago, is you can communicate that back to the hunter and share information and help them learn to make a better decision or whatever next year or for the next shot, and maybe it's not shot selection so much as understanding what was hit. If you have a good comprehensive understanding of anatomy, it helps you make better decisions after the shot, to where if you know that angle or that shot, that point of impact is not a double lung, it's really a solid liver. Now you know you got to wait that 12 to 18 hours, and you can find the deer by yourself. So that's the kind of thing that's why anatomy is so important. You know, we're going to have a roundtable. I call it a roundtable, just an open forum discussion on tactics and strategies. You know, in Michigan, we're fortunate enough to be able to track off leads, so there can be a wide breadth of conversation on tactics, both on lead and off lead, because you know there's different approaches to them. So you know that 30 people talking about strategies and tracking, you know, who knows where that can lead. Then Friday night, you know, we said this is going to be kind of a 2-day event, day and a quarter, whatever. You know, we're going to do a little Garmin segment. Set up your Garmin and you know, tips and tricks on how to use it, and you'll see some of that in the redefining success for practice lines too, and probably several times throughout the whole event. You know, with the Garmin. You know, as part of the baked in, like we just talked about, we're going to have we're going to run a finish line on Friday evening. And whomever is in town, you know, we invite you to follow along on that. We'd love to have you. And then same Saturday evening, assuming that finish line is successful, you know, you get to witness the inaugural elite test, which we're really excited about. So a lot of good stuff. You know, there's going to be a nice balance of, you know, weather permitting, a nice balance of classroom presentation type stuff, balanced with that hands-on practical application stuff. And the whole idea is, you know, quality over quantity. You know, that my approach to this Michigan event, although it's growing, and I'm quickly becoming anxious and slightly overwhelmed, but with the great team, with Kenny and Kayla and Lyle and Ralph and Ethan and everybody supporting this, I have zero doubts that it's going to be a great event. But you know, the thing is, we want people to be able to take something away. We want to present things in a way that maybe hasn't been presented before. It's not easy, but you know, we're working hard at it, and I think we've got I think we've got a pretty good approach. I'm kind of fired up about it. So yeah. Guys, I think we're up against it, man. I think that's been a great conversation, and Brittany, Adam, and Ted, I appreciate you guys all coming on very short notice. I'll spare you the gory details of my treacherous week in Daytona and trying to get home from Daytona after losing my wallet at the hotel and all of that fun stuff. So, guys, I appreciate it. You know, and thanks for coming on. Good stuff, and more of the good, less the bad, guys. We will talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having us.